from suing potentially to getting sued, you have been sued by Terry Adarham, along with defendants who have now been kicked out of the case. For those who don't remember, let me just bring this up. It's another amazing situation where Terry Adarham, she was the head of the CIA.
Dude, I can't plan this. God is good to me, Viva. I'm literally at the vortex of exposing January 6th because, let's face it, Fanone is their mouthpiece, right? For the J6 the Fedsurrection, their insurrection narrative. And through the process of litigating with him, if they don't settle, guess what? We're going to go into massive discovery of showing his propensity to lie and defame people in order to make the case. And I don't know how far we'll get with that, but I'm going to expose it all, okay? Unlimited. Like, I have unlimited energy and resources, in my opinion, to crush him, okay? Legally, morally, and ethically. Peacefully and patriotically. And then the same is going to go with this lawsuit. So please.
So what was Terry Adarham's position within the CIA when she issued the proclamation mandating the
She was the director. So her position was, she was the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs. She was the one person that signed the the unlawful implementation memo that forced the quote unquote so-called vaccine onto the entire Department of Defense. That was dated September 14th or 17th of 2021. Remember the unlawful vaccine orders?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now.
Secretary Noem, if you go to there's so much. I should have sent you some of these assets.
No, don't. This is this it? Is this the one? On August 23rd, FDA approved. There's no date on this document. Assistant Secretary of Defense memorandum.
Scroll down right there. If you look at the signature block in small print, you can see the date. And it's probably not.
It looks like September 14, 2021. Okay. August 23rd, the US FDA approved the biologics license for the Comirnaty vaccine, yada, yada, yada. Consistent with FDA guidance, Department of Defense healthcare providers will use both the Pfizer, yada, yada vaccine interchangeably. My point of contact. And then we see here, per USC guidance, these two vaccines are interchangeable. Un-effing believable. So she mandates.
Interchangeable. She mandates. So remember, at this time, there was no FDA-approved product that was produced. It was only the biologic licensing agreement was approved. And so the label was approved, but they never actually created the product to then inject into people. So the only one that was physically manufactured and available to force into people's arms was the emergency use authorized product. So effectively, she was the initiating salvo of an unlawful order. So if the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, wants to go after people for issuing unlawful orders, I got you somebody right here, sir. Her name's Terry Adarham.
So she basically mandates this. I love how they say it's the Comirnaty vaccine was approved. It was never the one that was manufactured and sold, and that was the bait and switch.
Yes, exactly.
And then the issue also, I just love how they interchangeable. Like, they've done enough research to interchange the which one was it? They said the Comirnaty vaccine per UFC guidance.
The BioNTech was the EUA, and the Comirnaty was the.
And you could you could flip it around with the Moderna if you so choose, or just go get 2 Pfizers.
Same thing.
Moderna. Yeah. So she gets then hired by the Trump's administration.
No, she was there during the Biden reign of terror, the criminal syndicate, as the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs. And then after the election, after President Trump wins re-election, she goes over to be the senior health officer at the Central Intelligence Agency. And so I put out a message after, so I saw on her LinkedIn, I keep an eye on things, on people, on the DSTL, if you will. And so I saw that she posted on her LinkedIn that she had taken on an SES position, the Senior Executive Service, within the U.S. government. So then I go to search it, and there's no information anywhere stating that there's a couple publications, like FedGov, I can't remember, that kind of tracks all these things, the SES positions. And I couldn't find her name anywhere. So I'm thinking to myself, I live in Northern Virginia. She's DC based. Which organizations could she be an SES for where that wouldn't be publicly disclosed? What's the first one that comes to mind? America? Viva, what do you think?
I don't know, and I don't want to look stupid.
No, so when you're doing a search, because usually when there's an appointment for an SES position, it's published in a couple of industry journals. But her name, when I did a search, her name was nowhere to be seen. I was only relying on her publicly facing LinkedIn post that said she just took on a position. So I took it as thinking that, I would guess that maybe it's the CIA. I don't know. So I made a post out there saying that, and I tagged Ratcliffe and I tagged a bunch of people and I said, is Terry Adarham burrowing in at the CIA? And I didn't know that that was the case until she sued me that was true.
So, but well, she sued you because she gets fired by the CIA when the public backlash, as I highlighted in the article, public backlash, she gets fired. She sues the CIA.
Yeah, I had
she
nothing to do with it, but
No,
I
of
would
course
like to
not.
claim it. I mean, I would like to claim the scalp, but unfortunately, I had nothing to do with
and then
it.
after she gets fired, she tries to get a restraining order to basically enjoin her firing, prevent her from getting fired. Judge says, no, you're
Right.
fired. She then sues a number of other people, CIA, you, for a slew of different cases, a slew of different causes of action.
4 counts initially.
You can tell us what they are, because I'm going to pull up the
So the initial one from May of 2025 last year, it was defamation, the second one, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The third one, conversion, and then the fourth one, tortious interference.
Yeah, tortious interference is getting involved in spreading lies that result in interfering with contracts to which you're not a party. It has to be lies. It's interesting because that one got tossed. Conversion was
so
about
all 4 of them were tossed in the initial complaint. She amended the complaint, and I was waiting on the decision by the judge for that second amended complaint. And the first amended complaint only then left the conversion claim and the defamation claim. So we're down to 2. And while we were waiting, her attorney and she files a second amended complaint to try to bring in Tulsi Gabbard as a co-defendant, along with the DNI, and I think the weaponization working group, which would have consisted of Pam Bondi and Ed Martin as co-defendants. And as of 2 days ago, the judge ruled that they were going to dismiss everything against the government.
Everything against the government, everything
and
against
then half against me.
Well, half of what's left of the initial 4, so you're down to a quarter of what she went after. And now
Exactly.
It's the only claim that she has against you. Just read the opening. Plaintiff Terry Adarham, medical doctor who served in the U.S. CIA, yada, 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 filed suit against its director, John Ratcliffe, Ivan Raiklin, over alleged constitutional statutory common law violations relating to her termination. Court previously denied plaintiff's request for a temporary restraining order. That was from the article we saw earlier, but granted plaintiff leave to file an amended complaint against him. Now, defendant Ratcliffe, I feel bad when I'm saying his name. That is his name. Ratcliffe, CIA, Raiklin, moved to dismiss. And bottom line, dismissed against everybody entirely, with the exception of one claim against you for defamation. Ivan, what was the claim for which she gets to proceed that she claims was defamatory? I don't think it's listed in here.
It is. There are a couple of statements that are listed in there, and primarily is, you can see it in there. I don't want to misquote it.
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring it up here.
So it would be more appropriate for you to exactly quote it.
Defendant Ivan Raiklin staunchly opposed the mandate, claimed that the COVID vaccine ended up killing lots of people. I think a lot of people. Raiklin stated on podcast hosted by Roseanne Barr that plaintiff should be convicted of genocide and mass mutilation. That's an opinion. Raiklin described the individual as deep state on his deep state target list. That's just a matter of fact. She's on your list. It's a proverb. It's not a metaphoric list. It's a political list. Nothing else. Raiklin also claimed he had obtained copies of plaintiff's private messages, which he did, but I don't know that there was anything illegal about that. Let me see what the last one was.
No, so that one was dismissed. The private,
the conversion claim. All right, and that's the extent of it. You basically accuse her of genocide, crimes against humanity, mutilation, and I don't know if treason was in there, but as far as I'm concerned, those are all quite clearly statements of opinion and your own obvious assessment of a situation. But if they want to proceed to discovery, which they will now, Ivan. So what's the strategy and the tact in terms of responding to the fact that you get to go forward on one of the claims against you?
Right. So this is working out brilliantly, exactly according to plan. So as I list off what potentially could be the strategy. I want folks that are listening in, to include you, Viva, to give me some more ideas. Let's get the creative juices flowing. Okay.
I'll look at our locals community for the recommendations there.
So the discovery strategy is to look at, the decision may I need to prove the truth, that these statements were actually truthful and not lies, right? And so how do I do that? Well, that means I need to bring in discovery, which would be all the deliberative documents related to her making the decision to sign the memo that you just talked about. Also, I can bring in the unlawful memo that literally states by the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness that that memo was unlawful. Additionally, I just sent you via text the 2 days, literally one day before the judge makes the decision, that the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, calls the mandate unlawful, or excuse me, unconstitutional. So anyway, there's that. So we can bring in things like that. Also, Terry Adarham's communications related to the decision-making process, related to her signing the memo, and any negative impacts that she was told about during those communications, both in her role as the CIA at the CIA and the Department of Defense at the time. And guess what witnesses? I mean, let's go through this. These are the witnesses that I would like to have in order to make sure that my statements are backed by my understanding that this meets the threshold of the potential future crimes that the government should consider prosecuting her for. So, doesn't Elon Musk have Fauci files, right, that he could provide? So, I would like to actually subpoena Elon Musk, Laurel Loomer, all right, Donald Trump Jr., who was mentioned in the case, John Ratcliffe himself, a couple of whistleblowers, Dr. Jane Ruby, Dr. Chambers, Teresa Long, Mark Bashaw, Sam Sigaloff.
I'll predict. Well, first of all, you got to add Albert Bourla to that. I don't know if.
Well, hold up, you're getting ahead of me here. Other internal DoD whistleblowers support whistleblowers like accounts of mandates fallout that resulted in essentially mutiny and the destruction of the force with numbers. It would be several people, such as Commander Green, Brad Miller. Others, Dr. Peter McCullough, can show the negative efficacy of the jabs. Dr. Malone, Dr. Martin, Dr. Ryan Cole, Dr. Michael Yeadon. Others that have litigated some aspects of the genocidal impact of the jabs, which would be Del Bigtree, you've heard of him, Todd Callender,
I've had him on.
Aaron Seary, Francis Boyle, Reiner Fulmick, who went after Bill Gates out in The Hague, I believe. I would also want to call Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Rand Paul, Congressman Thomas Massey, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bobby Kennedy would be a very nice witness.
I'll predict what's going to happen is a judge is going to say, this is, you're making a mockery of the court system. None of this is relevant to your statements as relates to, you'll get a bunch. I mean,
it's all relevant because I consumed the information that all these individuals provided, and I can show it in the run-up to making the statements that I made about Terry Adarham that formed my scienter and knowledge and intent related to the statements that I made on that Roseanne Barr show that they say that I was defaming her on. Robert Redfield, former CDC director, his content. James O'Keefe and his investigation of Pfizer. I also potentially, I'll just say it this way. I may or may not have undercover video of senior level officials at Pfizer that are going to be very favorable to me, Mr. Frey, that I'm going to save till the end. Okay, so then other witnesses that I think should be brought in, obviously Dr. Fauci, Walensky, Jared Kushner, and Mike Pence in their role on the COVID task force, Pfizer CEO Burla, Joe Biden, Lloyd Austin, Milley, John Kirby. Sure
you're going to get a judge who's going to say you're crazy, you're a vexatious litigant, and you're going to be defaulted into a finding of liability like they did with Alex Jones. So that would be my only caution, because someone might say, Mr. Raiklan.
Well, no, I'm going to address that by bringing the following witnesses, and that would be how the reason why the judge and I should say the court, I think may think that I'm not providing. Let me put it this way. The reason why the court may think this way, like you just suggested, is because It was Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and former FBI employees James Baker, and then Twitter employees that censored all of humanity into believing that these things were safe and effective. So I have listed here Vijay Gadde, Yoel Roth, Nina Yankowicz, Brian Otten, Joe Pientka, Elvis Chan, Laura Demlow. These are former FBI officials that were working with Twitter 1.0 to censor this. So those are just my initial thoughts on who should be included. And I may not have to call them in as witnesses. I pretty much have most of these individuals' contact information, and most of them have already indicated to me that they would be willing to sign a sworn affidavit that would definitely be supportive
Yeah, that would
of
be good. I
my
don't know what
cause.
I don't know exactly what the procedure is, but you get a sworn statement, and then if the other party opposes it, then their testimony becomes necessary because they won't admit by way of sworn statement. If they want to examine on the statement, they can go ahead and do it. Ivan,
Please.
where can
So,
people find
I
you
mean,
to
it's
keep
just a
up
tip,
with this?
right?
Well, it's look,
I've
this
had
is
months to think about this in
no, no.
preparation for
I've
such
been
a time
following
as
it
this.
now. Been following it for a while now. It's good to see some progress. I'm excited to see where this goes. Ivan, where can people find you in order to keep up to date and to support the work that you're doing? You're on X, and it's Ivan
Mhm.
Raiklin. Is it? There's another one called Raiklin, a handle. Is
Yeah,
that
so
yours?
that was the one that the FBI censored me out of. So I switched
Okay.
over to Ivan Raiklin. I mean, that one still exists, but whatever. This is the primary one, Ivan
Okay.
Raiklin. Now, if you do want to, let's be honest, this takes resources, right, and time. And I'm going to do this with or without anybody's help. I get it. But if you do want this to go complete scorched earth against the whole COVID cabal, I set up a GiveSendGo specifically geared towards exposing Terry Adarham. And that's givesendgo.com/Terry Adarham. TerryAdirrim.
Okay, fine. So